Oh, shit. Wait. Hold on a second. Is it right? Is it right? It is right. Okay. We're good. We're good.
I'm sorry.
We're still live. Oh, really? Right now? Really?
I'm sorry. I'm texting my newborn sister.
Me.
Sorry.
Unreal. We were talking. This is QuarantineCast Volume 2.
This is?
I'm surprised we've only done 2 of these so far, honestly. Or that this is only the second one we've done.
We've been doing other things.
We have been doing other things. It's true. I would like to do these more often, though.
Yeah.
I think we should.
I was actually thinking that so I was thinking that we could do informational talks via your podcast.
Okay.
But the background to that is that God, I want to say Megan must have been, I think she was in college and she was home for a break. But her and I were up at the same time for several weeks.
What do you mean up at the same time?
In the morning. We were up at the same time. And for some reason, my siblings were not. It was mainly her and I. So we started having informational talks where we would look up a topic on something we were interested in or just something random and learn a little bit about it and then talk about it and teach each other something. Not, like, necessarily going into the depths of the nitty-gritty details, but...
I think for something like that, you have to go into the nitty-gritty details in some regard, though, because if the thing you look up has some kind of political thing to it, or, like, is portrayed a certain way, you know what I mean? Like, unless it's just strictly factual, but it's easy to, you know, look up a blog or watch some videos on YouTube that are slanted a certain way. You know what I mean? I feel like you have to kind of dive into it a little bit.
I mean, we would to a certain extent, but we wouldn't dissect it like we did with savoring during our last podcast.
Right, okay.
I remember talking to her about how whales were getting beached in some region of the world for a specific reason. Really? Or some whales beach by choice. It's part of their cycle. I'm not sure. It was something like, this was years ago.
But fuck this water. I don't need this water.
It was something like that. I don't know.
I'm gonna walk on land and breathe air. The frogs did it. They did.
Ariel did it.
Whoa, these headphones just started working again.
Oh, they weren't before?
No.
I'm glad they are now.
I don't know what happened.
I'm trying to be more attentive.
That was magical. You just came into my right ear. That's what she said, right?
I sure did.
You just came into my right ear.
Ooh, that's a show.
Gooey.
I've been trying
that was a
to.
happy surprise.
Are they still working?
Mm-hmm.
I'm happy for you.
Thank you. Oh boy.
We've got to take care of that.
I need to fix the audio.
Yeah, because you can hear my phone being placed gently on the table.
I need to have audio technician come in and figure this shit out.
I just
maybe I don't know.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I think that's extra. I think you could just do it yourself.
Yeah, I need to figure it out.
I just noticed that you lit the candle.
Yeah. It's right there. Lit.
Very romantic.
It's lit. It's lit, dude. It's not romantic, it's lit.
I just realized that there was something I wanted to do before I sat down and I didn't do it.
Oh.
It's okay.
Damn it. Emails will have to wait.
Mm-hmm. We have been dating for a long time.
3 years.
Well, I guess it's all relative, but
It is all very relative.
it's our anniversary today, guys.
Yoshi.
That was so good.
You think?
Yeah. Or you're just fucking in my ear. Oh my god. Can you do Toad?
No, I can't do that. I don't know Toad.
I'm the best.
No, I don't know that.
Except it's way not that.
Can't do Toad. I have a very select repertoire.
I know you do. You got Cartman down. You got Yoshi.
It's South Park characters. Shit, what were we talking about before that?
We've been together for a relatively long time in our short lives.
Yeah.
I was writing before I sat down here about that. I always take this time and I get super weird and nostalgic and reflect on a relationship.
Anniversary or what?
During our, on our anniversary,
Okay,
around this time.
Yeah.
It's pretty wild.
It is pretty wild.
There's been a lot that's happened in the 3 years we've been together. Just of the nature of when we started dating.
We're vegan.
Jesus Christ. We were vegan. Now we're not. That took a toll. That took a toll.
No, we're definitely not.
Oh, fuck. You know, it sucks because I think we could have done it right.
I don't think we were that far off, honestly.
I do, completely. My last semester of school, I was living off of fucking lentils and, squash. It was not good at all. I didn't have the time to cook like we were cooking over the summer.
Okay. I did.
I know you did. But you had popcorn.
I had a lot of popcorn, that's true. Fake vegan. Not fake vegan, but
No,
nutritionally fake vegan.
Yeah, you were a real vegan. I still find that whole thing to be so, just diet in general, what we were talking about earlier. Even, the sustainable and environmental side of your choices, because it does make a large impact.
Let me frame this. So,
yeah,
we went vegan for an environmental purpose. People go vegan for different ways. The way I see it, there's some people that go vegan and their Instagram page is nothing but faces of sad cows.
You know someone like that, right?
I do. I know a few people like that. I know a girl like that who started dating this dude who I knew who I never would have guessed would have ended up in that way, but did. It's very funny. But
so was he vegan as well?
I don't know if he's vegan. I think he is. He's a big football dude.
He was sneaking burgers on the side, man. There's no way.
He was a big guy. We were decently good friends back in the day. Anyway, people go vegan for different reasons. I would say, or have different primary reasons, let's say, for going vegan. Have different main motivations.
What was your primary reason at the time?
Environment. And not supporting the factory farm system. And
you think about your health at all?
I was more reflecting on it. It feels like I was more focused on the overall environmental impact and not as much my personal health.
That's so interesting.
Although I did my health was something I considered. I was running a lot, and
you never not considered your health.
Right. But I didn't just eat fucking Doritos and shit. I kept it to a lot of real food. Mm-hmm. We were making a lot of hummus. We were making a lot of nut butter. We were doing granola a lot. Oh, smoothie bowls with frozen fruit. Mm-hmm. Oh, that was delicious. But no, I feel like during that time especially, I think we did it relatively well.
I think so to give you my perspective on this, we watched a documentary with the health, right? And then from there, did some digging of our own and just decided to do it. Mm-hmm. So from my perspective, and I still, when I think about this, I get all, weird because I was...
Refer to it as the Dark Ages.
I refer to it as the Dark Ages, but during the time that we were contemplating being vegan, I was also learning about research and taking those methodology courses, and my degree, my undergrad. So I was being trained to, like, think critically, like, first principles thinking, like, ask those questions, like, being able to defend your argument, like, those principles of doing research.
Mm-hmm.
And I did not apply those principles to the documentary. Oh, no. I remember watching it and just being so fucking encapsulated by the whole thing that I was like, this is so nuts. Like, we have to do this. Like, this is our, like, moral responsibility. But as far as the environment goes, but at the same time, I was also thinking this is better for my health. Like, they got me on that hook too, which is fucking terrifying.
I agree. So I agree. They got me on the hook too. I definitely believed it was good for my health, and the ladies that were getting off their medications and curing of cancer. And reflecting back on it now, I would say that's probably more of a reflection of not necessarily a vegan diet, but more of a whole foods diet, more of a real foods diet versus getting off the Diet Coke and getting off the bullshit.
Right.
With that being said, to go back to the synopsis I wanted to give of the entire situation, we went vegan from what, for the purpose of, from my perspective, what was environmental reasons fundamentally.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, everyone has a different reason for doing so, and personal health might be one of those reasons among, like, people that are against animal cruelty, aren't too fond of the food chain, and so my primary reason, for my perspective, was the environmental reason of not supporting factory farms and things like that. So we were vegan, and I don't know about you, but it was about 6 months, almost exactly, I think. Yeah, mid-May to mid-December.
Was it May? I thought it was June.
Oh, maybe it was June.
I think it was June to December.
Okay, June to December. Yeah, that's. Yeah. The first 3 months I felt really good.
Oh, yeah.
I was still really strong from being in the gym all the time throughout college. And so I still felt good in that regard. But like the first 3 months were good. And then the last 3 months I felt like I had no energy. I felt like just completely cloudy and bogged down. And there were other, like, personal circumstances that went into that as well. Absolutely. For sure. But yeah, it's not like the vegan diet existed in a vacuum and all things being equal. That was not the case at all. But for the most part, the last 3 months were pretty brutal. And then we were like, we gotta stop this.
Yeah.
And so now, because I want to wrap this back to the discussion we were having earlier.
Yeah.
Now, those environmental causes are still important to me.
Oh,
my health is still important to me.
Yeah.
And that's why we eat the way we do now, which is pretty much just vegetables, a lot of meat that's all grass-fed, organic. Again, not wanting to support the factory farm industry and all that stuff too. We go to the regional market every Saturday and get a lot of vegetables from, local farmers, like our beet and carrot lady. I don't know exactly where she's from. I think somewhere out towards the Catskills, she said, but... Oh, really? Yeah. She travels a ways to get there. She travels a ways to get there.
I didn't know that.
But, it's their farm. She was telling us that her kids, she was expressing some sadness to me. I don't know if you were standing right there or not, about her kids not taking over the farm. Mm-hmm. And that was kind of sad to me. But I don't blame the kids either. But anyway, trying to support more local operations like that. And so...
Even Finger Lakes farms, too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. Where we get our meat from. And they're the distributors. Like, they collect meat from different farms in the area.
Right, but it's still supporting those local farms in Central New York. Agreed. Which I'm all for.
Agreed. That don't have the distribution means to sell their own stuff at the local market. Yeah, right. 100%. And the point being that it's, sustainably raised and everything like that. So those environmental causes and motivations, not wanting to support factory farming and that whole fucking mess, is, which I don't even remember any of the like, to be honest with you, I don't remember the specific
methane
like
and CO2 being in the air. That's just dissolving the ozone layer, and then
from what I remember, that was more up for debate. That was more
what?
The methane from cows. Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah, and CO2. That's
the methane part from the cows was there were I don't think was conclusive.
I don't know about that. I don't remember.
Anyway,
but also feces
those
and whatnot being in the water.
Yeah,
supply.
polluting water systems and and just destroying the land and
pesticide. Yeah.
Yeah, the list goes on and on and on and on. And so not wanting to support things like that, which is why we eat the way we eat now, farmers markets, local, that kind of thing, and even misfits. We were talking earlier about how what does local mean? Like, does local mean local to our town, Camillus, New York? Does it mean Syracuse, our like general metropolitan area, or does it mean the state? Does it mean the country? Does it mean the globe? Like, at the end of the day, we are all a part of the human race. Like, we are all tied together in that regard, and we share this one big biological asset that is the earth that none of us could live without. So it's kind of like hearing Weinstein talk about the twin nuclei problem, like the fact that we now have enough power to blow ourselves up.
Oh, yeah.
But it's not in anybody's best interest for that to happen.
Right.
So it's kind of like this weird
I
safeguard
could do
kind of thing.
it,
Yeah, everyone could, but nobody wants that to happen, of course. So in the same way, nobody wants anything to go bad with the earth. So we all share that. So it's kind of all local in a sense. Like the degree to which you zoom that scope in or out is so subjective. It's so subjective. And depending on how you view it, like, so I guess to really bring up what we were talking about earlier, being that we support these local farms and eat this certain way, again, a lot of like grass-fed red meat and vegetables from local farms and whatnot, is that sustainable for all of humanity? Is it scalable? And the answer, I think, is no. I'm pretty sure is no. Like, the amount of land needed, or per square footage, a square foot per pound of meat, let's say, that's raised in that capacity, is we don't have enough land to feed everybody at that rate.
It's a population problem.
So
I think.
Well, that's a whole nother thing. But so therefore, is it really sustainable for us to eat that way? Is it really in the best interest of
the future
of humanity for us to eat that way? And I don't know that the answer is yes. I think the answer is more yes to that than it is to support factory farming, for sure, which in that regard we made an improvement there. But I guess the ultimate question is, what is the most sustainable food system for humanity as a whole? Like, so earlier we were talking about, because that's what I want to support, like, honestly. You know what I mean?
Also taking our health into consideration.
Right. So my definition of the best food system does take health into consideration. It's not just an economic best thing, because that's how you get factory farming. So what is the best thing? Because that's what I want to support. That's what I want to, vote with my dollars on. And we were talking earlier about how it might be, there's like Beyond Beef and stuff in Burger King and fucking Dunkin' Donuts and in these places that are like troughs for humans, which is, like I mentioned, very ironic because you feed the pigs in the trough so that they can get cut up and be put in a trough for humans to eat out of. And those troughs are called Dunkin' Donuts and fucking Burger King. But anyway,
Beyond Meat.
Yeah. So and there's a lot of research, as we mentioned earlier, said in our discussion earlier, that supports that it's not the most healthy thing for us.
Oh,
right?
Yeah, it's garbage.
So, but there's also, projects like, and I don't know the name of them, but projects that are taking like literal cells of, say, the meat we're getting from Finger Lakes Farms that's, grass fed on a local farm, like sustainably raised, no pesticides and bullshit, free range, whatever. Say that those cells are taken from that meat of that cow that's raised in that way, and then grown or cloned or created somehow in a lab to get artificial meat.
They're doing that
That's
now.
artificial meat, but it's real meat. I know they're doing that now, but what's the health implication on that? Is that is it good? Is that a good thing? And if it is, like, is it available to the consumer so that I can support that project and vote on them with my dollars? Because that's the future. Like, the local farm that we're supporting now isn't the future.
Okay, can I jump in here?
Yeah, no, I just wanted to. I think I just got to the end. I wanted to set the entire stage of how that discussion went before we went off in a million different directions.
Okay.
Go ahead now.
So I have a lot of different thoughts. To address the one you just made about supporting the lab-created meat that's technically artificial, but also just, I guess, lab manufactured. You could draw a parallel to GMOs. I mean, they're genetically modified. They're modified, like, I'm assuming they're doing it in a lab. But I also know that there's natural, like, seed hybrids that you can make. I don't know enough about that, and I probably sound like an idiot trying to explain it, but there's that parallel that you could draw.
I don't either. I don't think all GMOs are bad, though. And I think everything's genetically modified in some fashion, just by way of, like, natural modification over time of refined, like.
Sure.
But that's beyond the point.
So, I'm making a point that you could draw that parallel.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if there is any to be drawn, but that's what I thought of.
Yeah.
And I've thought a lot about morally balancing. I thought about this a lot when we were vegan and when I decided to start eating meat again. There's a fine line, I think, between balancing your health and being selfish in that way and supporting the greater good of humanity and the planet. And a part of me, one narrative that I've told myself, I don't know if I agree with it now, but when I decided to eat meat again, particularly red meat, I was feeling so bad being vegan. Lost hair, lost my muscle, was going insane because my mental health was not getting, where my brain wasn't getting the nutrients that it needed to be a normal brain. I decided to sacrifice the health of the planet and the future of humanity for my individual health and eat meat again. That's how I was looking at it. And I think about that a lot, even with how we eat now, because Finger Lakes Farms, we get beef. And I understand that there's worse implications for supporting that process versus white meat.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I've justified it in a variety of ways, one of which being my health. But I always go back and forth between, like, what's morally right. Like, do I not eat the way I want to optimize my health? And that also can mean a variety of things. For us, that's way different than any one of our family members per se, just because I think we put a lot of stock into our overall well-being and our physical health, and we pay attention to what we put in our body. Mm-hmm. So it's like, okay, do I fuck everyone else and say, like, well, you know what, we can afford to eat this way, we're going to eat this way, and the planet's going to blow up anyway because, like, our contribution's not going to make a difference, so fuck them. Or take your approach of, it's compassion, in my opinion, of understanding that we're all in this together, and that if we all work together to sustain the planet and choosing what we eat and a variety of other things too, but if we all join arms and, like, okay, we're gonna save Mother Earth, but that's not how it is. That's not our reality.
So when I refer to the future of our food system, that's taking into account human health as well. That's like what I'm describing is the Jesus of of food systems, like the ideal that is, you know, Jesus. Maybe that's not the best thing because the ideal man is not possible to reach. But I'm talking about a very real thing that we could achieve, a very real food system, whether it is cellular grown meat or not. I have no fucking clue. Probably not, right? But that's also optimized for human health. So, okay, there's I don't know the movie The Matrix too well, but in the movie, there's some scene at some point where they're eating. Like this group of people are eating at like a table where, you know, you got 4 people sitting on each side and this kind of thing. And it's food. And I think The Matrix is in the future. The Matrix is definitely in the future. The food is, it looks like oatmeal or like what I would imagine to be porridge or something. It just looks like slop, like cafeteria lady, right on your plate, right? But it's the most nutrient dense, health optimized thing, and that's why you eat it. Like, it's not like you're not eating for pleasure. You're eating because this is good for you. This is fuel. This is not pleasure. This is fuel.
That's why I have that green smoothie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. The quote I said to you earlier, I said I believe it's a Socratic quote, is people, like, strong men eat to live, weak men live to eat. Like, and I think as time goes on, our society will trend that way.
I don't know about that. I think about that a lot because I just, in my own little bubble, in my own little corner of the world, I've been living and learning in this wellness world, you could call it, for years. It's just how I choose to live my life. And I surround myself with people who also want to optimize their health, care about what they put in their body. Like, that's just the type of information and the people that I choose to be around, which is why I'm doing that better than before. Like the whole thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in a way, I agree with you, because when I look at, like, the people who I follow on Twitter, who I don't know personally, but are just in that world and are researching and living that way and promoting that message of, like, just move your body, eat well. Like, our environment is not suited for us to optimize our well-being, so we have to actively and consciously do it ourselves. I've been, like, that's just how I view the world and live my life. So I assume, and this has happened before in my job that I currently have too, I assume that people understand the difference between a carb and a fat, and what foods are carbs and what foods are, like some people in my family don't have that understanding and literally don't know.
Yeah.
So I think there's also a large group of people, social determinants of health aside, no matter your class or your race, I still think there's a large group of people out there that don't know that there is another way to live.
Yeah.
Or don't care.
So I hear you talk, and I hear, it sounds like the time frame that you're talking in is like the next 20 years. I'm talking like the next 200 years.
We're not going to be around.
Humans?
You think we're going to be around in 200 years?
Humans?
The Earth is going to die.
I don't know that's for sure. And I think you're really bold to say you do.
I don't know. Of course I don't know.
You just said the world is going to die. We are not going to be here in 200 years. The world is going to die. You seemed very definitive when you just said that.
Because that's how I feel. I don't know it to be true.
Well,
based off of what I know.
You said it as if it is true.
Based off of what I know about where we are in climate change and how much we have to do yesterday to reverse the effects and the damage we've already done, we're not heading in a good direction, which is part of the reason why I don't want to have kids. That's a very serious life decision.
Agreed.
If we go to Mars, if Musk can get us to Mars, then sure, then we'll have a nice little colony on Mars and humans will still be around. But I do not think in 200 years we will be living on this planet.
I think the ingenuity we would need to get us to Mars would also suffice for saving the Earth in some capacity. Like,
hopefully,
our science is only getting better and better and better, for sure. Like, and more. You smirking at me because I've been paying a lot of attention to Eric Weinstein, and he thinks we're stalled out in terms of physics. And
that's not what
so
that's not entirely what I was thinking. I want to tell you what I'm thinking, though.
Even if things are stalled out in that regard, as in we're not discovering new fucking gravity 2.0, like, we're getting more innovative with what we already have. Like, the fucking kid who's cleaning up the trash mat in the Pacific Ocean, Boyan Slot, and I forget the name of the company.
For Ocean?
No, not For Ocean. This is a company has these somehow skims trash off the Pacific.
Oh yes.
Garbage mat, and is helping solve that problem. Like, we're just getting more innovative with shit like that, and I know that's a lot simpler problem to solve than like saving the climate and saving the Earth, but it's just we're smart. Like,
For
and
sure.
As needs arise, like, inevitably we come up with solutions to meet those needs.
Can I tell you why I was smirking, though?
Go ahead.
I agree with you in that there are genius people working on these
Mm-hmm.
incredible solutions, and that our science and our technology is getting better
Mm-hmm.
in some ways, and that we are in the age of information and technology, and we're innovating, and it's wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
I have faith in those people.
Mm-hmm.
However, in order to push the needle and to really make a difference as far as climate change goes, you have to have the power to
Mm-hmm.
make those decisions and to create those policies and those laws for people to abide by, for those companies to abide by. The people in power don't give a shit. Think
Yep.
of the CDC. Think of the WHO. Like,
Yeah.
they're willing to misinform the American people because they fucked up. I said it. It's true.
With the mask thing, yeah.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. It's fucking ridiculous.
So I have all the faith in humanity. I have zero faith in whatever the fuck those entities are.
All right. Well, you really want me to go in on this? In the same way that our food system is going to be some kind of, like, is going to be financially incentivized to be healthful and sustainable, and then palatable is going to be the backup. It's simply because that provides the most value to humanity. Like, that is the best thing, and it will win. and I agree with you that people in power that don't give a shit about climate change right now and are more focused on, what it would take to make these changes and how much money it would cost, and holy shit, we're going to lose all this money, and let's not do that. The next generation can deal with it. I get that happens. And I think the reason is because we have systems in place that incentivize, that have these monetary incentives. Like, I don't think that the system we have now that's perpetuating these problems and creating these problems, right, I don't think is the future. I really don't. Like, there's, in my mind, it's only a matter of time before something better takes over. Like, and I'm not saying it's going to be
To replace the food systems we have?
Yeah. Like, it's only a matter of time before we figure out a way to, first of all, engineer better food systems, and two, incentivize them in a political realm so that it happens.
Fucking hope so.
Like, but it's only a matter of time. It's only a matter of time. Because, like, we are a species that always moves to improve and push further and better things, and that's the next step. Like, bettering. We have so many plugins on our WordPress website right now that it's doing a lot of impressive things, but what it really needs is a core WordPress update. that can run all those plugins way more efficiently, allow for newer plugins from smart third-party developer people to use and incentivize to be able to fund projects like those, like Boy on Slot cleaning up the Pacific garbage patch. Like, we're inevitably going to, those are the most valued things, right? Boy on Slot and solving these problems are the most valued things. They create the most value. People are inevitably going to want to support those things. And as institutions and the system sees these things getting all the support, they're going to say, holy shit, how do we do this too? How do we facilitate this so we can get a piece of this pie? Well, you need to somehow facilitate and encourage those kinds of things. So now you have the geniuses being able to work in the political, economic realm to be able to push their projects forward and to get incentivized. So I just think inevitably that's going to happen. And it might not be in 20 years, but it's going to be soon. And beyond that,
do you think
also,
it's going to be in our lifetime?
I don't think it's a hard line either. Beyond that, you also have like Elon Musk paving the way with Tesla and SpaceX and all these things. Like, it's not that it can't happen in a private world either. It's not like you need the
government to be involved.
Right, or institutions in some regard, right? The system, the fucking system, man. Like, when you pave the way, the system will follow. Like, we are paving the way a lot. It's like, I imagine, do you ever learn about trailblazers in school? People like trailblazing the Midwest when we first settled the colonies and like after the revolution and everything, when we pushed in and
vaguely familiar.
Yeah.
Displaced all the Native Americans?
Mm-hmm.
Great.
So, like, first, the pioneers, the explorers go in, and they deal with the Native Americans and the new species and all the fucking earthquakes, and they're like, fucking earth is shaking, like, what the fuck, man? So, and then after they figure it out, after they experience all the traumatic new shit and eventually, find the Pacific Ocean on the other side, then people come in behind them and pave the way so to make it accessible for everyone. But first, you need the Elon Musks and the Boy on Slots of the world to take those leaps and be the crazy people that turn out to, just be the pavers for the not so crazy thing that's going to be in the future.
I'm totally with you, and those people exist widely.
I think they can. I think Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos and all these people. I don't know.
Bezos?
I've heard Bezos. I've heard Bezos. I've heard multiple things. I don't know what it is.
Listening to?
I think people are incredibly good at solving problems. And I think it's a matter of time before we... Okay, so right now, the entire climate change thing seems to be pretty catastrophic, right?
Yeah.
Like, things are going to get bad. We don't... Have we nailed down exactly what needs to be done to fix it?
I'm quite sure we have. I don't know what the solution is, but I'm quite sure scientists have been working on this for so long that they know the problem and how to prevent it.
Like, if we could just get the CO2 out of this layer of the atmosphere, everything would balance itself out. Like, that kind of granular, like,
I think so.
Like, do we have is there a simple way to define the problem and how it can be solved?
I don't know the answer definitively, but I believe that scientists have been working on this for so long, each researching and furthering their specific component of what makes the earth go round, literally, that at this point, Al Gore and colleagues could go to Trump and say, this is our current state. This is the rate at which we are trending towards this worst state. We need to do this, this, and this now. So
we're talking about two different things, I think.
Per usual. What are you talking about?
You're talking about changing industry and changing the political economic landscape for things like factory farming so that they're not contributing to this problem. Because you're talking about implementing reactionary precautionary measures for this thing from happening. I'm talking about some, like, oh shit, this bad thing, like this bad thing just happened, and now there's a new set of defined circumstances that are very specific, like a trash mat in the ocean, that somebody would be able to figure out. Like, somebody will figure that out.
We're talking about the same thing. I'm just bringing it a step farther and giving a tangible example of bringing it to the government. Andrew,
no, hold on. I'm talking about fixing the patch that exists, not preventing the garbage from getting out there in the first place.
I'm telling you, I believe scientists have that answer. I don't know if the patch can be fixed. I don't know if that's possible, but I think they have the next best thing. What I just described is not them preventing.
Well, you talk about Al Gore going to Trump, and like that you're referring to policy and like changes that are
not necessarily. I mean, yeah, because that's how our society is structured right now. But someone could also say, "Hey, we could." Are you talking about having someone bring about a solution that's completely innovative, like the bath mat?
Yes. The bath mat.
I think there are. Oh, I don't know about like the novelty of a brand new innovative solution. But we, as a people, or at least a scientist, understand what needs to be done within our confined realm of our society and the way it's structured as far as government, economy, consumerism, how that all is intertwined. I feel like who the fuck knows, because no one tells the American people anything and no one's transparent, but there could be that solution already. I don't know. What I'm more concerned about, and I will fucking never forget Megan and I talking about having kids and how that relates to our food security as a nation, and globally too. She had already had Arthur. I don't think they were talking about having another kid at that point, but she said that her and Eric have seriously thought about only having one kid, or maybe two max, in case shit hits the fan and we are now fighting for food because it's so scarce. Mm-hmm. So being able to afford to feed their family as they wish. That's one of the other reasons that is tied into climate change, that I don't want to bring about more responsibility in this world than I have to. A dog's enough.
There's a lot of responsibility out there that already needs to be taken care of, that's for sure.
I'm just more, you're thinking like grandiose, so like, which I admire and respect about you. It makes these conversations interesting, but we're not doing what we need to now. Like, there are answers and there are steps that we could take right now, and the people who have the power are not taking those steps, which...
Yep. I don't disagree.
So like, there's strength in numbers. So if every American was like, you know what? We all woke up one day enlightened, and this is the most important thing, and we need to save our planet Earth so we can continue to innovate and leave this place better than we left it. Like, that's even fucking possible anymore. And we decided to, like, overthrow the government. Like, pick it at the White House, save the Earth, whatever. Save the Earth. I don't, like, unless there's a war that breaks out, and then we win, and then we save the Earth, and the scientists are in charge, or Joe Rogan's funky idea of having a king and queen for each, like, I know he was just fucking around, but still, I find that wicked funny. I I really don't see, I have a very dismal outlook on this, I guess, because I don't see things changing soon.
I have at times, but to shove your own words in your face, I have more of a growth mindset about it.
Oh, for sure. Sure.
And I've grown to have that mindset about it. Not because, like, I just think it's inevitable.
To throw your own words in your face?
Yeah, go ahead.
Man's strength is predicated on how much truth he can handle.
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
I just think I have accepted that at this point, we're fucked. Not that I'm not willing to do my part, because I totally am, and I do actively, and I am rah-rah, I don't know, fucking, I ride around the idea, not literally, but I am trying to also encourage people to do the same when I can. I don't see us having a place to live. I see things getting really, really shitty during our lifetime. Like, not even kidding. Like, I've told you before how I have no idea where Angela got this information. It might be bullshit. Caveat. But Angela said that in 20 years, the climate in the U.S. is going to change so much that Syracuse, New York is going to be the equivalent of Washington, D.C. right now. And people are going to be planning to live up here.
I've heard that Florida and New York City are going to be underwater in the next 20 years, too. And
yeah,
yet
that's totally
City,
viable.
New York City and Florida, the real estate there is still worth more than ever.
I don't think people can accept that reality.
Or they're just trying to get their last years of Florida in.
Maybe.
They'll pay anything for it.
I seriously don't think. I mean, if you think about the world ending, like, you can't fathom that in your mind. It's too
dismal.
Not even dismal, but it's too like it hits. I feel like it just hits a part in our brain that it's like we just shut it out. It's like, no, like, the world can't end. That means that humankind is done.
I don't think I'm doing that.
What do you mean?
Like, I don't think my optimism stems from not being able to handle the truth. I really don't. I think my optimism stems from we threw so much shit into rivers, and we have third world countries that are currently dumping all their garbage into rivers because they don't have a waste management system that still exists. And as a result, we've created this ginormous problem in the middle of our Pacific Ocean. But our species is so innovative and so good at solving problems and using tools that we are on track to have the entire thing gone.
Are you talking about the climate change being the entire thing?
Possibly.
We can't.
Hold on. Right now, the garbage man example is just a metaphor for a problem that has arisen that we have solved. And I think that I don't know. Because I'm not Boy on Slot, I'm not Elon Musk. I'm not that smart. There are a lot of fucking smart people out there. And like I said, know that humans are good at using tools and are good at solving problems. And that the marketplace will pay for them to be solved. I just think we have a hope of inventing our way out of this problem.
I hope so. But to be clear, we have done so much damage that there are things that are irreversible. So getting rid of climate change,
I'm not saying
not
it's
possible.
we're gonna return to our 5000 BC beautiful Earth. I'm saying we're still gonna be able to use this place. That's all.
I hope so. That really fucking freaks me out. Like,
Look,
give me one topic to lose sleep over, it's the Earth frying up. It's true.
Yeah, it is true. And I also don't think I I once held your belief that we're just fucked, and it's a matter of time.
It's arguably very lazy.
I do think it is. It's like,
yeah.
So take the, if everyone sweeps their front porch, the whole world would be clean, right? So you're saying, well, other people aren't going to sweep their front porch, so it's not going to be clean. So, like, I don't really need to sweep it. I'm just going to do it just to, say I did my part. And if you have an entire civilization of people who are half-assing sweeping their porch and saying, I'm just going to get it done just because, like, my neighbor needs to, you're not going to progress, and you're not going to be able to invent your way out of it. You're going to have a complete lack of enthusiasm. And for that reason, I don't think, look, being that everyone doing that is not good, and that everyone doing the opposite is good, and in that being enthusiastic and wanting to keep the world clean, and being hopeful and optimistic and having a growth mindset that we can figure this out, but right now we just need to do what's in front of us, and that is clean our porch. You, in a world where you're doing one of those two things, I feel like we as humans have a moral obligation to do the latter and not the former. And I don't think the former, if you take the position of the former, I don't think that's, like, I sympathize with you, I empathize with you. I had that belief at one point, and I don't. I just think we are capable of more than that. And I think it's easy to say, oh, we're stupid humans, like we think we're so great. That. I think that's not where it's coming from. That's not where it's coming from. I have faith in humanity. I don't know. I have faith in our ingenuity and our ability to solve problems and use tools. And not for nothing, our biological instinct to survive. Like, if you tell Elon Musk that in Boyan Slot that, hey, guys, we need you to work on this problem because the Earth's going to blow up, like, garbage patch, that's really cute, but right now we need you to work on this, save our Earth from fucking drowning and being too hot for us to live on it problem. I think you'd get a lot of people working on that problem right away. Like, I think you'd get, and I think you'd get a lot of innovative solutions.
But, so you're saying that, like, someone's got to wave a red flag in their face and say, hey, this is now a problem, go work on it, because
I think it's a matter of time.
We've known it's a problem now. It's been a problem for as long as we've been alive and before that. Mm-hmm. So, and it's only getting worse, and now we have the technology to spread the word that it's only getting worse. So, sure, I hope that one day there's a team of fucking geniuses that are dedicated to this problem. There definitely are now. I mean, that's what the scientists are doing, right? Yeah. That's what Musk is doing. But,
well, Musk specifically, he's not working on that problem, as far as I know.
But he's you're right.
Bezos just donated $2 billion towards climate change. That's just... Well, he
sure, yes.
What a generous sprinkle of change. Keep your $2 billion, Bezos. We don't need your moral signaling.
That's not what I'm saying
at
all.
I'm glad, because I'm glad you clarified that, because that's what your face said.
$2 billion is a shit ton of money, and it's very generous of him. But the only reason that you and I know that, and please correct me if I'm wrong, is because we read an article headline. I read
the article.
Okay. What was the
It did not offer a lot more information. It just said he's going to be using this money over the course of the next couple of years.
But you don't know where it's actually
No, I don't. It's not determined where it's actually going yet.
Great, but you don't know where it's actually going.
I just think that's a wicked pessimistic viewpoint. I don't, but I have hopes that it's going to a good place, and that it's going to put us in a better position than it did before. And I'm not saying it's going to be the 100% best use of $2 billion that anybody has ever seen. There might be some problems with it, but it's going to have a net positive impact. That much I am quite sure of. And I think you're very pessimistic to think otherwise.
I agree with you that
I'm glad
it will make a positive contribution. That's not to be ignored. No matter how much money he has or he's worth, that's still a lot of money.
He's worth about 150 billion, so that's 1.5% of his net worth.
So if he did that every like year, no, I'm not in
I
a
think you're
position
gonna.
to tell anyone what to do with their money. I think that's very generous, and I hope it makes a positive impact. But I think that is, what'd you say, virtue signaling to an extent?
I was parodying your
I know, my face.
reaction.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. I think I've developed. It's interesting. I'm kind of jumping ship, but it's noon. My work environment
Mm-hmm.
is, when it comes to things like this, very, very dismal and very
Lovely.
bleak.
But
There's also a very, very deep. There's always no. It's just the nature of like they're studying social science and the system. The system is fucked, and we all know that. So they have painful detail about why certain things in our society are fucking over certain people, large groups of people. I'm not talking about like these people over here in this one city. I'm talking about like hundreds of thousands, millions of people everywhere, right? And like how it's affecting things internationally too and whatever. So listening in on those conversations is so insightful for me because I don't have that knowledge, and to be quite honest with you, I'd rather look up other things in my free time. But at the same time, there's always a sense of I don't want to say despair, but it's like, well, like, you know, these are the huge, overwhelming, overarching problems, and like our research is trying to bring these to light so things happen, which is super important. And I want that to be clear. Like, the work that my coworkers are doing is wildly important and needed. But during our meeting last week, we were talking about COVID and how it's being handled in the U.S. and it's not being handled well in the U.S. But people on the line were saying that they were angry because of how Trump was treating this whole thing. And you could just feel it in their voice. Like, there was this one student who didn't have a video, so we could only listen to her. But just the feeling of, it's like resentment and bitterness and anger, just like those people are genuinely upset and angry over our current situation. And I think that's a terrible way to live, if I'm being honest. I think we have every right to be frustrated and angry and overwhelmed because, again, the system is fucked and Trump is not doing a good job handling this, and we have major governmental organizations that we are supposed to trust lying to us. Like, it's as fucked as it maybe could be. I mean, it's definitely not at all true. I'm living in my first world bubble. Okay, I take that back. But to be so angry over this, it's like it's just exuding from you, and I could like sense it. I don't. There are better ways to live.
Well, yeah, I think it's not a good way to live to get caught up in it, and to a degree, you need to focus on what you can control, right? Like, you can get angry all day long, but you're just gonna sit in it. It's not gonna do well for you because at the end of the day, you can't.
I think it motivates them to do their work.
To do their
research.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they have this fire to push the needle on these really important structural issues and holes that we have. I mean, there's people doing research on organizational structure, on policy, on national trends, and how certain things are affecting people across the country. That's
good. I don't think it should be done out of anger, though. Like, I don't think that's a healthy way to go into the...
No, I don't think it's anger. I think that anger is a side effect of what they're doing.
Well, I don't think it's a healthy thing. It's a healthy emotional bag to hold no matter what you're doing. Like, that's how you get right, somebody who's extremely resentful of, right-wing policy. That's how you get an extreme leftist person, right? Because it comes from somewhere. It comes from somewhere in most cases. And I think it's more advantageous to more or less be mindful, take a step back, take a deep breath, think about it for what it is, and not get angry. Like I'm not, believe me, I'm not happy with the way institutions are handling the entire thing either. Like the whole mask thing I think it's utterly ridiculous. And it shows that there's a lot of holes in our system. And I think while you get people like that who get angry over it, and maybe it motivates them to do policy, but I think what's way more important is the people like a Weinstein that are just factually pointing out these holes without necessarily
identifying with them.
Yes, without invoking too much emotion, just saying, hey, objectively, like, this shit is not good and we need to fix it. Like, that's what's really going to drive things. So instead of getting angry and letting your anger fuel you, I think it's more important to communicate what you see and the holes you see, and spread ideas, because ideas are what's going to move us forward. Like, emotional outrage is not.
So, I agree. I don't think it's
people are outraged at Trump. Like, in the political scene, people are outraged generally.
I work with people who are outraged by Trump. I mean, there are. Yeah. I also work at a university, so that might be more common anyway. But I think it's also the place at Syracuse that I work, in the center in which I work, and just by nature of the topics that are being studied. But there has been conversation around people studying mortality and death. And like alluding to what that effect has on your mental health. I mean, when like the people who I'm surrounded by, their job is to do research. Mm-hmm. They're working at an R1 school, and that's their main reason for being there. They're less interested in teaching, more interested in research. When you are researching something, you are balls fucking deep in that shit. Like, you have to be well versed in the literature that's already published to inform further your topic. So you are like, you're breathing, living that shit, in my opinion, unless you choose not to identify it with it. But I think that's difficult to do. Mm-hmm. Not impossible, but difficult.
You're right.
So to get wrapped up in this specific whatever issue it is that you're researching, and to have it be so overtly negative and to be consumed by that all the time, it could have the same effect as someone just watching the news. We know that the negative news being cast all over has detrimental effects on our mental health. You could argue the same about a specific topic.
100%.
So I think that's a lot of it too. It's just they're constantly surrounded. Like, that's the world they live in. They don't see the world as maybe an opportunity or the common humanity of people, or like maybe the way that you and I see the world, because we're not studying that stuff. They're viewing.
We have our own skewed perception.
Of course, but they're viewing the world in this really, really, really dim light.
Yeah.
Just by nature of what they're studying. And again, like, they have very, very succinct and concise and strong arguments to back up the reason they're feeling that way, because they've been researching that topic for years. So it all makes sense, but I just think that whole idea and everything I just described has had at least a subliminal impact upon my outlook. I think it's started to tweak my outlook as far as just like the structure and the man and the system. And I've never been a huge fan of the system anyway, but I don't know. I just talked a lot, but it's like there has been words said over our meetings like, I want to blow capitalism up. Like, those words have been said more than once in different ways. I want to blow the system up. I want to blow capitalism up. We have to start over, like, burn it down, like, build the ground up. Those things were being said in the fucking social justice class I took. Like, well, we just have to burn it down and start over.
Interesting.
It's like...
What do they propose instead?
It's more socialist situation, I think. I can't speak to the students that were saying that last year. But from what I gather in these conversations with my coworkers, it's more a socialist structure, like healthcare for all. Things that other third world countries are doing that result in their people
more
thriving.
public goods and services available.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, no, that makes sense. I feel like, well, even like universal basic income.
Yeah. I mean, that idea's been thrown around since COVID's happened.
Right.
Which would be phenomenal.
But, I mean, with the stimulus package, we're getting money. Like, people under certain incomes get certain amounts of money.
And federal loans have been put on hold.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, there's obviously a whole bunch of different impacts, but I wonder if the world will consider these things
socialist?
Well, no, like moving forward, like.
Oh,
you know what I mean? Yeah. Like if it moves the world a little more towards, more consumer goods and things like that. Like, I think that's probably the future as well. I think it just makes the most sense, like serving the most people. I don't think that I think public goods and services are good. But like the word socialism has such a connotation to it. And I think it's very easy to go too far with socialism. And even then, I don't know. Like, the only reason I say that, right, is because we went too far with socialism. Like, we spent the past couple of days learning about Russia and the gulags and Stalin and the whole revolution.
I still am not clear on. So on the spectrum, let's say, of government.
Wait, hold. Let me make the point I was making.
Sure.
We've seen it go too far with socialism. We haven't seen it go too far with capitalism, or else. Well, so it hasn't. We don't have gulags and killing fields. Like, it's not as transparent if we've gone too far, right? Or the things are more obviously wrong.
I think it's
in socialism. In capitalism, like, we have corruption and we have legal bribes and like all these things, and I have theories on that too. Like, that shit needs to go.
I think it's more than that.
But I don't know. We haven't. It's not as blatant. And
right. It's way more covert. I mean, that's the argument with colorblind racism. There are really subliminal and covert ways in which we are still oppressing people of color. That's what that theory states. And that's
a lot of that shit's programmed in.
That's neutral. That's just another theory to support that covertly we are still fucking with people pretty bad. I lost my train of thought. Can I take a pee break?
We should probably wrap this up. I have a call 12:30.
Okay.
Till next time.
Sad.
We'll do another one. I want to do these more. I really do.
Can we do one later, maybe?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. I
want to have a lot of COVID casts.
I was enjoying
Quarantine Chronicles. I was enjoying this as well.
Oh, I had a point to make. Oh, really quick. I'm still unclear on the spectrum of government picture. Okay, so we have capitalism over here and communism over here. So is communism just socialism taken to an extreme? Like,
communism, I think, is a extreme subsection of socialism, if I'm not mistaken. Like, communism has to do with the lower class overthrowing the middle and upper class and establishing another system, like a socialist system. So I think, like...
But in a communist and socialist government, the government still has control and is reallocating those resources. Right?
Say that one more time.
With socialism and communism, the government still has control over currency or resources.
Yes, capitalism is a form of... Or communism is a form of socialism.
Yeah, and so the government has control over how those resources are allocated.
Yes. Being that is socialism, and that...
I'm asking, is that what socialism is?
I'm saying, I think it's an aspect of it. I don't know the textbook definition.
I need to... It's embarrassing that I don't know that. I think. Anyway.
Especially after we just watched like 2 hours worth of content about, or more, of
very specifically
about
communist Russia and Stalin and Lenin. That socialism was not brought up in those documentaries we watched, to be clear.
It was a little bit. We watched a documentary about the Gulag Archipelago.
I don't remember socialism being brought up in that.
Oh, I think you might have fallen asleep.
Probably. Anyway,
Until next time.